Ohayuki Yukichireiki desu. While I'm currently in the process of making a few other videos, I felt like I should very quickly touch on a topic that sort of reared its head again. If everyone's favorite One Tribute vanilla is any indication, translation in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been a bit of a shaky territory since the very first cards were printed in English. It's certainly gotten better over the years, especially after Konami took full control of the game in TCG regions from Upper Deck in 2011, but every now and then things still slip through the cracks. And that's understandable. Even for an international corporate operation with, presumably, fluent professionals on payroll, Japanese to English translation isn't easy, especially when you throw made-up words for your fictional setting like ekushizu into the mix. In the modern day, translation issues in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are usually just centered on card naming, and in that regard, the issues either stem from a lack of foresight or internal censorship policies. The Abyss storyline is actually a good example of both. Fallen of Albaz is technically a correct translation of Arubusu no Rakuin, given no other context. It's only after later information about the story, which even the translators might not have had when doing the first batch of cards, that we learn that Albaz is the name of the monster in the card, rather than some other being that he's the illegitimate child of. Similarly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tries to maintain a child-friendly image outside of Asia, so there's no way his first fusion form would ever get officially translated as Bastard, even if that's literally what the card says in its Japanese name. Mistranslations are a bad thing no matter how you slice it, but for our purposes today, it only really becomes a problem when the error has a tangible impact on gameplay. And as someone who's been playing Rush Duel Links for the past year, there's been a handful of these, mostly very early on, but what prompted this video is that another one has now shown up again, and it really paints a negative picture. A recent Duel Links update has released a Cyber Dragon structure deck, which contains the card Grand Cerberus. It's a rather basic card that inflicts some damage to your opponent based on the number of Earth Machine monsters you control, which is a weird inclusion for a structure deck focused on light machines, but that doesn't really matter much. What does matter is that the English text of the card completely contradicts what the card's actual effect is. It states that your opponent takes damage equal to the number of Earth Machine monsters the opponent controls, which would effectively make the card useless, as there's no guarantee your opponent would be playing Earth Machines. You'd have to be dedicating deck space to and draw both Attribute Shift Bomb and Type Change Beam, all for a payoff of 900 damage max, which is obviously not what they want you to do.
Hey, editing Yukichi here. At some point in time between the release of the structure deck and the Go Rush update, they did fix the text on Grand Cerberus, but there are still random instances of just not proofread text in the game, so I don't think that it changes the overall point that I'm trying to make here. Just thought I should point it out.
This isn't the first instance of a translation problem in Duel Links as a whole, really. Skills notoriously tend to have very awkward and sometimes outright inaccurate descriptions that read as if they were machine translated. But since card text is taken straight from Konami's database, most instances of a bad translation would come from the mistake already existing on a physically printed card, like Fusion Tag before its 2024 reprint. Duel is a unique situation, where outside of the 2021 Switch game, there actually aren't official translations for a lot of the cards to pull from, with Duel Links being the first time many of them are receiving one. And that's assuming they actually do get one. In the first month of Rush Duel Links, hot off the press just had its effect text in Japanese for some reason. Fun fact, did you know Japanese text isn't even an option in the Steam version of Duel Links? Anyway, Grand Cerberus is a card from the Go Rush era of the game, which means this isn't a problem of the text being incorrect before, and then the incorrect text being copied. This translation, and therefore the error, is entirely new. Again, I get it, mistakes happen. But a mistake this egregious happening nearly a full year into the game's lifespan really doesn't put Duel Links and the prospect of a potential future physical release in the greatest light. While I don't think it's a valid excuse, I can at least understand translations in the Switch game being off a bit, because a lot of video games released during the pandemic had some technical issues here and there due to the work from home environment. But mistakes like this one continuing into Duel Links long afterwards gives off the impression of a lack of care, and if the people making something don't care about it, how can they expect the consumer to? Yu-Gi-Oh's marketing outside of Japan is something I intend on touching on at another time, but think about it. If you had no prior investment in Rush Duel, would you be inclined to give the game serious consideration if you kept running into situations where your cards weren't entirely clear in how they were intended to work? Or flat out didn't do what they actually say? And for those of us who are already committed to the Rush, can you really say with confidence that if we get that physical release, errors like this would be fixed or that they won't keep happening? I really want to see Rush Duel get a physical release overseas, and I really want to see the game grow and do well, but I have to wonder, will it even be worth it if the game is sabotaged with these sort of translation mistakes that make even enjoying the game casually a headache?